G'day guys, how's it going? It's a nice sunny day, but it's still very cold inside. So I'm just out here having a bit of a break, enjoying some sun, but I need a bit of shade so I can actually have a good chat with you guys. Good place to sit down. Okay, found a place. Still rugging up, but still rubber as always. Okay, so I came across a really concerning Reddit where someone who was young, 19, got into a relationship, a dynamic with someone in their late 20s, and they started getting into CNC, which is not the computer aided stuff, but consent, non-consent. Now, I've talked a fair bit about this before, how I don't recommend it for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people have those fantasies, but I strongly suggest you have a think about whether they should stay that way or not, because even though it's a fantasy, you never know what the situation is going to be till you actually encounter it. And how you're going to feel, if it's going to bring and trigger a negative effect on you or not. It's not for everybody. Some things should just stay in fantasy. The reason this was concerning is because there was an incident, a forced incident, where the dom, even though they talked about the CNC stuff, they were not in good health, and the sub was injured, and I was like, well, this person also didn't know that safe words could be used in the middle of play, and it's to signal, like, discomfort, or when you're reaching a limit or something like that. It concerns me that there's a lot of people getting into kink and they're not not educating themselves or learning as much. I hate when people say get educated. I don't think they're learning as much as they can before they take a deep dive in. They just get so excited that they just jump into it. It concerns me because then there've been other incidences since that first initial incident where it has happened, and I was like, well, I recommend anyone that's doing anything really kind of that could have and definitely could be physically damaging, not only that, but psychologically, emotionally damaging, to actually do debriefs, particularly when you first start doing them. Do debriefs. If there's some where you can talk to them immediately afterwards, they're cognizant, leave it a couple of days, keep touching base to see how they're handling it over the time. It's not a part of a welfare check or aftercare, and I don't recommend a lot of people do CNC unless they have been long-term play partners or they're in a really trusting dynamic. Even then, there could be days when it happens and for some reason something else happened that day. It had nothing to do with the play. It can impact on it, and that can cause harm, like physically, mentally, emotionally. So I would say a lot of people need to try and figure out their boundaries. When their boundaries are breached or being breached, or have been breached, definitely have a talk with the person about it if that person doesn't care, or as equals, not pulling rank as a dom or a sub, but as equals. No judgment, no blame, no nothing. Just say, what happened, your affection. But it sounds really cold to a lot of people and might dumb down a lot of the excitement of it all. And you know, that's part of why they want to do this. But in order to do this long term, you really do need to check in and reflect a bit on what you're doing. If it's still something you want to do, if it's something you want to do more or less, change things in the way you do it. Now, it's been a while since I've talked about kink stuff, I think, but a lot of things have been happening. So I think with regards to boundaries in kink, any new person, if you tell them to read up on stuff, awesome. Have a good discussion with them beforehand, because oh yes, I've read all about this and that. And nowadays everyone says, oh yes, this is my safe word, this is that, I'm into this, I'm into that. But then you've got to posit certain situations to them now and say, okay, so how would you feel if this happened? What would you do? Would you discuss this with me? Would you do that and that? Not as a way to try and get them going with stuff, but you know, part of the kink is a lead up, but not just that, but to watch and gauge the reactions on what their desire for that is, and also think in your mind and weigh up what you know of the person, what your capabilities are, and if it is safe to do something like that. Because some things are purely just fantasy. You can say, I want you to think about this while this is happening, but you're not actually going to be doing it, because you know your limits, you know their limits, or if you're uncertain, you're not going to go there. Like I said, if in doubt, don't do it. And check back with them, say, okay, I did this, and were you comfortable? At which point was it uncomfortable? And blah blah blah. In today's age of instant gratification, it's probably like, oh my god, it's taking so long, I'm doing this for ages and ages. And I'm like, well, if you want to do it for years, you want to take a few months just to get it right, to be aware of the signals, to be aware of, you know, to know instinctually that somebody is reaching their point, or you know where their point is being reached, and you know that you can go past that point, but they're going to be okay because they're able to talk with you about it, you're able to talk with them about it, you're able to work your way through any of those instances. Now for this person, it's difficult because I don't know how long since the original incident that more stuff has happened, because that sets up a pattern that can be hard to break in a relationship. It might be better off that they break it off, or she breaks it off, and it depends on how well they communicate with each other, and start anew with somebody different. Don't fall into the same patterns. Try and be aware of what you might do a lot of kink stuff, but just say, look, okay, I'm coming as kind of new, I need to practice using my safe word. And actually that is a thing, is to practice using your safe word. Be put in instances where you can say no, yes, pause, and get comfortable with doing that, get comfortable with knowing what your own signals are, and then the other person who's playing with you also learns a lot about how your body is reacting in what situations, and how and the signs that you are coming up to your limits, and all that. So it's not a matter of grit your teeth and bear it, particularly when you first start off. It's a matter of knowing yourself, knowing your boundaries, being able to signal and enforce those boundaries, and letting your play partners have the opportunity to learn what your tells are, to learn you and your signals. Otherwise, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I just, for me, I guess it can be difficult, and I know I've had problems like in the past saying yes, no, and sometimes I still have problems communicating with stuff, particularly when it's a new thing. And I'm not sure because, you know, I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm supposed to think or feel about this. Probably I've analysing it and just do a debrief. I don't even have to talk with my play partner all the time. Sometimes I just need to write it down, and if I'm still thinking about it, I'll talk to them and say, look, I don't know where my head's at with this, you know. And I've been in the kink scene for a while. I've done a few things, some things a lot more than others, and it's not always an activity that is overt. Sometimes it could be service activities, and yeah. Anyway, I best be going. I've done with my break. It's really nice out here. I've started to thaw out a little bit. It's still pretty cold. My papa was doing well as can be, but the vet has said that I need to think about his quality of life. So, as a hint for some people that have pets, I have actually sought out, there's like a little calendar that I saw that, you know, or there's ways that you can get quality of life and say, you know, when they have good days and bad days, you know, put like a mark when they have good days and they have bad days, and over the course of a period of time, like, you know, generally a month, if the bad days outweigh the good days, you know, have a look at that. But yeah, my puppo just had an infection, and him being old as he is, like a Methuselah, it affected him a bit more than usual. But he's on antibiotics and he's doing a lot better. Still not up to his usual stuff, but he's still very alert. And here he comes. Here he comes. Just a second. Hello. Yeah, see, he's still a little bit tired, a little bit unsteady. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna come back inside, sweetie. Okay. As you can see, he's just still a little bit sore, because the infection can make other things inflame and all sorts of other stuff. So, yep. Hello, sweetie. So, I'll catch you guys later, and think about that for this weekend. About boundaries. Any new people that you come across and they say that they know everything, you know, test out their knowledge. Like I said, some people go, oh yeah, I don't believe in safe words. I'm like, well then, you're an idiot. And I don't believe in limits. So what death is not a limit, so you'd rather, okay. Amputation, you know. Permanent scarring. Really think about that. Permanent scarring. Some things you can minimize a lot of scarring on, like there's a lot of medical play that you can minimize scarring, but there's also some where people like the scarring. But yeah, you need to seriously think about the limits, and those, not just stop, go, uncomfortable, pleasure, pain thing. Think about things like psychological, emotional scarring that you could have, physical scarring, possible future issues that you could have with other people that you play with as well. You know, it's a lot to take in, but it's not even just for new people. Even for your people that have been in kink for a long time, you can get complacent. Like seriously, you can get complacent. So rethink that. Check in every now and again. I know a couple that checks in at least once a year on their whole relationship, but they do check in and talk with each other frequently with regards to play. And they've been together for years, decades. And they're awesome. Love them to bits. So I'll catch you guys later. Have a good weekend. Bye.